Okay. Okay, ready, set, go. Okay, let's go ahead and call to order to the Tuesday, March 19th. Juan Bautista City Council meeting. And would you like to do the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, Liz, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Freeman,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Here.
Councilmember Morris Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Sabathia
Here.
and Mayor Friels.
Here. Thank you. Well, these things are really sensitive now, aren't they? Okay. We're starting at 5 because we have a closed session meeting. Before we go into closed session, Liz, is there any public comments on the closed session?
No speaker cards received and seeing no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll transition to closed session. Okay, welcome back. City Attorney Giffen, do you want to bring us back from closed session, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council and public. The council met in closed session on item 2A, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, California Government Code Section 54957B1, the city attorney, and pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.1, there's nothing to report out.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, introductions. Dawn, this is all you in the hot seat.
Thank you. The city council approved a change to our delivery of public safety services as a recommendation from Citygate approximately a year ago. And that became part of our budget, and we recruited and we got a wonderful response. And I'm proud to introduce to you tonight our top pick from our ad hoc committee, Roy Morales. Roy, would you come up and join us? Roy comes to us from Rancho Vista. 2 days in a row so far. And he's a 30-year sheriff deputy with Santa Cruz County with a graduate degree and lots of experience supervising and managing the department, as well as the day-to-day sheriff patrol duties. So it's a great pleasure that I introduce our new public safety coordinator, Roy Morales.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Green, there you go.
Green light.
There we go.
Yep.
As the city manager said, I spent 30 years with the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office. The last 7 I spent as a manager. I was managing our correctional facility, patrol division, and community policing division. Hence, I applied for this position because I think community policing is super important to me, the community I live in. And I've spent most of my career living in Santa Cruz County, Santa Clara County, specifically Gilroy and out here. So I look forward to serving the community. Again, it's day 2 for me. So I'm still learning, just learning my phone number as of today. But I'm eager to help everybody and meet everybody. And I know we're a small community, tight community, so I'm hoping to work with every single person here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome. And I just spent a week in some change with 4 Santa Cruz County, younger Santa Cruz County deputies, and they all had great things to say about Roy. So I felt good about who we chose. So thank you. Okay, proclamation. We have a proclamation from Women's History Month.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So, Women's History Month, March 2024. Whereas March is National Women's History Month and the National Women's History Alliance has designated the theme for Women's History, March 2024, as Women who advocate for equity, diversity, and inclusion. And whereas this theme recognizes the invaluable contributions of women who have dedicated themselves to advocating for equity, diversity, and inclusion in all aspects of society. And whereas women from diverse backgrounds have long been at the forefront of efforts to address systemic inequities and promote a more inclusive and just society. And whereas the courageous advocacy of women for practical goals such as equity, diversity, and inclusion serve as a beacon of inspiration for all individuals and communities. And whereas in 2024, we honor the women who have tirelessly worked to dismantle barriers, challenge prejudices, and create opportunities for all individuals, regardless of their background, and attacks against diversity, equity, and inclusions, programs, and training in our institutions. Now, therefore, Mayor Scott Friels, on behalf of San Juan Bautista City Council, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Women's History Month in San Juan Bautista and encourage our communities and organizations to celebrate the achievements of women who have championed equity, diversity, and inclusion, and reaffirm our commitment to advancing these principles in our society. Let us honor the women who have dedicated themselves to advocating for equity, diversity, and inclusion, and let us continue to work together to build a more just, equitable, and inclusive world. Thank you. And I just want to honor, I personally had asked for this because a lot of times, since we do hold our meetings on the third Tuesday of the month, we miss that opportunity to acknowledge or proclaim a month at its beginning. So it was important for me to include this because we do have a lot of women in our community that are out there on 3rd Street. We have a few women here that are business owners. We have community members that are leaders. We have us on the dais and others that came before us. So I just want to honor our community for that, our women in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Number 5, public comment. The public comment is for items that it's 3 minutes, and for items that are not on the agenda. Liz, do we have anybody?
No speaker cards received in chambers, but I do see a hand raised in Zoom.
Okay.
Courtney, you have 3
Hello.
minutes.
Yes. Hi. I actually reached out to some of the members to ask about how we can help downtown San Juan Bautista become more inviting to the community, the families here. I am new here with my family. I came from Los Gatos, it's another small town, and I remember it being mom and pop shops. Unfortunately, I haven't been back since corporations came in and kind of took over, but we have the same feel here, except for it's all vacant buildings. Everything's taped up. There's a few community-owned businesses, which I personally take my whole family down to support. But if we had more businesses down there, it was more inviting, more of the community would show up. Instead of just being a little tourist town where people go for 2 hours and leave. I mean, how can we get the community involved and help our town grow?
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else, Liz?
No, no other public comment, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to informational items, treasurer's report and monthly financial statement.
Hi, how's it going?
Hi, Michelle.
Bear with me. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. So good evening, Mayor, council members. I'll give you a brief overview on the financials. And then if you guys have questions, we can address those at the end. So for the general fund, year-to-date, our net effect is currently a positive balance of 153K. The month-over-month change there was an increase of 43K. Revenues are in line with the expectation, exceeding expenditures, which is always a positive thing. And we had larger than usual property tax receipts, so that's a bonus for us. That's why we're seeing the slight increase there. Some of the vendors that stood out for January were Specialty Construction, which is the Force Main project to Hollister Construction. The Force Main to Hollister Construction project under CIP 2302. That was one of the ones that stood out. And then the City to Hollister payment, which is our fire contract, and that's paid out quarterly. So nothing out of the ordinary there. Wellington and Rathie, which is our city attorney fees, and they're paid out monthly. Just to make a note there's a couple backdated billings that came in a little late, so that's what we're seeing a little bit heavier than usual. And then Bryant Jolly, which is our annual contracted fee for our audit charge. That is not out of the ordinary as well. Moving on to the Water Enterprise Fund, year to date, our net effect is currently a positive balance of 519K. The month over month change there was an increase of 57K. Revenues continue to run higher than budgeted at 69% year to date, which is good. And then on the expenditure side, we had our recurring vendors with expenses and nothing out of the ordinary that was popping out at this time. For the Sewer Enterprise Fund, year to date, our net effect is currently a positive balance of 523K. The month over month change there was an increase of 26K. The revenues are continuing to run higher than budgeted, which is a good thing. And then on the expenditure side, we had a slight increase there due to annual dues that were annual dues, subscriptions, and then higher IT expenses as well. So that's all I have for now, unless there's questions that I can address.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council members?
No, thank you.
No?
Nope, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Do we have any
Thank you.
public comment or public questions?
No speaker cards received and seeing no hands raised, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
Bye.
What would you do if she went into labor right then? Okay, reports from city council representatives to the regional organizations and committees.
Thank you. I attended two meetings this month. One of the meetings is not on our regular group, but it's the hospital board. And they debated four offers to purchase their hospital. As you can see, the packet is voluminous. The four people who are organizations are putting in a bid for the hospital. It's San Benito Healthcare Alliance, which is a group of doctors and citizens who would like to purchase the hospital. American Advanced Medical Management out of Modesto, California. They just recently bought the hospital in Madera, which also went bankrupt. And then there's Insight Medical Center from Chicago, Illinois. And last but not least, the county of San Benito with their JPA proposal. So there's really nothing we can do. They're an independent board. They have elected directors and they're going to choose from those four. So that was that. Next, I went to a water governance meeting. It happened to be at the exact same night as AMBAG, so I did not attend my usual AMBAG meeting. We received a municipal service packet from LAFCO. It's not quite as thick as the hospital board, but it's pretty thick. Anyway, I'll take a few seconds to go into it. Basically, it was about the Hollister sewer plant and what to do with it and how to do with it. It's an MSR, which stands for Municipal Service Review. And the only functioning, really well-functioning sewer plant around here, surprise, is the one in Hollister. And so it's, how do we want to work it? Do we want to just, like what we're gonna do, we're gonna interface with the city of Hollister via a contract, which is completely appropriate. There's also other methods, JPAs, a sanitary district, a district sanitation district. I didn't know what the difference was between the two. Still haven't figured that out. Anyway, there's all sorts of different ways to skin this cat, and LAFCO will be figuring it out hopefully in the near future. So that's all I have to report on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have been to several of the hospital conversations, and it's something that we as a council or a city haven't taken up yet. But everybody should start paying attention to what's going on with all of the groups involved. And I was also at the governance committee meeting with the LAFCO presentation. And those are the only meetings I was at this month.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you have anything?
Oh, yes, I didn't have any regular committee meetings. I think there was a couple of reschedules, but I'm due to go to a COG meeting this week as an alternate for the mayor. And I did go to the informational meeting about Hazel Hawkins, and I ran into or saw Vice Mayor Jordan there, and that was from the Insight Group from Chicago. Yeah, I agree with the Vice Mayor. There is a lot we need to be paying attention to as a city, especially if the county wants to be the sole driver and take it over with the JPA, because that would involve us. And personally, I don't feel our small city is in the business of running a medical center. And I have a lot of questions that I feel have not been answered by the hospital district or their board. I feel they lack a huge amount of transparency. They've made some very public decisions that were available to us by firing the CEO with a golden parachute payout, and then quickly, a few months later, claiming bankrupt, and then hiring an interim and questionable, according to the newspapers. I don't know much, but just what I've read, questionable background or abilities to be a CEO, and then turning around and paying this person $450K a year. So for me, as a city council member of San Juan, like, all those things gave me great pause if we were to go into a JPA. So I think we need to just really be aware of what's going on with the Hazel Hawkins Hospital. Thank you.
Thank you.
I attended the LAFCO meeting as an alternate for the vice mayor. It was interesting meeting for me, fun. We voted on a shared service contract with Marin, Santa Cruz, and Tuolumne counties with their LAFCOs. So what that means is that if there is an area of expertise that one of those LAFCO agencies has that ours doesn't, or our executive director isn't available, they would be able to help and step in. For example, if there was some weird area of that LAFCO is supposed to oversee that one of those counties had expertise in, we'd be able to, with this service agreement, we'd be able to lean on their expertise instead of trying to get that on our own, which I thought was a good backstop. And it's something that a lot of other LAFCO agencies have kind of banded together to do. I mean, these other three were already in that, so I think it's a great thing to do. I think the last part of that, other than that it's already been voted on, is to agree on hourly rates for their help. I think same for us. We'd have to have an hourly rate agreed upon if our executive director was going to go help them. So that was interesting. And then there was a discussion and vote around seating special districts, and look for your help because you were part of the original discussion, but with special water districts and things like that, trying to get them on board or representation within LAFCO. And if you know, there has not been an initial response from those special districts with interest in doing so. And so the direction from the LAFCO board was for the executive director to do a little more than sending an email out and maybe try to do some education about why it would be beneficial for those agencies to join the LAFCO. And if they were to join, they'd get two votes or 2-member representation, and then have to pay some associated fees, which means our fees would go down, which could be good. So that's where that was left off. And then the last thing of note, there was a discussion about the proposed change to LAFCO's fee schedule for all the different things that they do. The last update to that was in 2013. And some of the older rates and new proposed rates are wildly different. And right now, LAFCO foots the bill for all of those costs as opposed to an applicant footing the bill for those costs. And some of them are in terms of costs, tens of thousands of dollars. And LAFCO's budget comes from the county and the 2 cities. To me, it didn't seem right to have us all foot in the bill if somebody wanted to. We shouldn't be financing their annexations or planning or anything like that. So I was very much in favor of the new fee schedule. I asked questions about a couple of the specific fees that were still thousands of dollars in discrepancy in favor of applicants. And I think there was some direction to go back and look at that. That's all.
Thank you. It sounds like hiring the new law firm for LAFCO is paying off. So same with COG. I missed last meeting, so I'll go back to the COG of maybe a month or so, 2 months ago. We had a Highway 25 workshop. How do I put this lightly? It's going to be really difficult to do any type of major expansion on 25 for quite some time. There was a couple wrenches thrown in, an assembly bill that has to do with vehicle trip miles. Whoever created this bill is under the impression that if we expand our highways or make our highways bigger, then more people will use them. We're a little bit unique here in San Diego County with 25. 60% of the traffic on 25 is from Hollister. So I can't see it. I can't see more cars using it. So that's going to be interesting. And the price tag, if we were to, let's say if they did do a dedicated bus line or a dedicated commuter line, or even adding a second set of lanes, they're talking like $600 to $800 million. And COG doesn't have anything close to that. So the discussion was, if something like this isn't to happen, then what are we going to do with all that Measure G money that's being now pretty much after next month or so putting towards 25? So we're in a little bit of a conundrum there, but we're working through it. Last meeting was we had in a nutshell, it's a goal setting session. What direction do we need our executive director to go in? And there was a lot of brainstorming on what's really needed. Of course, 25 comes up, every time. And another big issue was our county transportation. The ridership is only like 3%. And it went down significantly during COVID, and it's not really bouncing back. So we're trying to figure out how we can make that a little bit better for folks. We have 3 new planners for COG, and these young folks they've got a lot of energy and they've got a lot of great ideas. So I think we're gonna see some good things coming forward. And with the same with what Lavco did, we hired a independent law firm, and the county is no longer representing us, and it's already paid off for us. These folks came, they showed up at our goal setting session, and they were they're out of the Sacramento, Yuba County area, and they know a lot of people, and they've pretty much seen it and done it all up there. For some, Sacramento COG is like 33 agencies. It's pretty big. That's where Banu came from, our new executive director. So they already know her too. So things are looking forward. Things are looking good for COG this year. And I'm sorry with the acronym COG, San Benito County Council of Governments. And that's about all I have for that stuff. Back to my. This is awesome. Okay, council announcements. These are pretty much dates, accolades, anything we want to say for folks. John, do you have anything?
I just wanted to mention that the community center is done. The acoustical improvements of the community center is done. I was in there during the election weekend, just observing it. It's 10 times better than it was. It's certainly not perfect, but you can hear yourself talk without 10 echoes or even 1 echo. It's a lot better. We now have a new asset that the city can use on a regular basis. So I'm encouraging everybody to use it. Thank you.
Great. Leslie, do you have anything?
No, just to expand on that, also, when Warner Brothers were here, they ate at the community center, and it was incredible. You couldn't hear the person echoing off of the walls at the table next to you. It was really nice. And the Lady Hay Balers have started their softball season,
Yes, they have.
doing very well.
Awesome.
No announcements.
I'll keep pitching this as dates start coming up, but July 27th and 28th. So excited that we're almost in summer. Hopefully it gets a little warm, a little toasty around here. We'll be an artisans and winery showcase. And then October, a little further out, October 5th and 6th, there'll be the second annual Harvest Festival. And then the last thing that I just got in that I thought was interesting and cool, Jovenes de Antonio is organizing a casino trip for June 22nd. The rules on this seem kind of funny, but there's a contact and get your tickets today type of thing. I don't know how you would contact. There's an RSVP link in the email, but I guess it says to check out their website for more information, but I thought that was pretty cool. To go into the Table Mountain Casino.
Okay, thank you. Arts and crafts this weekend.
Arts and crafts this weekend.
Don't forget the VFW, they have a flea market and the canteen is open. Cheapest drinks in town. Soon to be coming to the VFW. Also, June 2nd will be a fundraiser. There's a group of us that have got together, and we formed a local committee to raise funds to bring back the bells for the Glad Tidings Church. Little brief history. The bells used to chime at noon and 6 p.m. with a little bit of music, and there's a group of us. So June 2nd, VFW will be the traditional San Juan Bautista Fiesta chicken barbecue. And I'll have some more information for you that next month. It's all going to be on Eventbrite. There'll be 2 sets of serving hours, and you can do to-goes also. So I'll have next month we're working with the community foundation, and as soon as we get we can go live now, but as soon as we get our bank, we can go. So, and Community Foundation's been awesome with that. I can't say enough about how great they are. Warner Brothers. So I was out of town, except for the last day, and I got a chance to talk to Tristan. And Tristan was, what would you call, was set director or set
Advance.
event? Yeah, he's,
advance location.
yeah, like the coolest job in the world. He gets to travel around the world and find movie sets on somebody else's time. So cool. I had a chance to talk to him a little bit, and I said, you know, how'd everything go? Don't no BS. How'd it go? And he says, your little community has set the bar on filming on location. He says, I can't say enough about this little town. He goes, everybody's been kind. We've had no problems. He says, we're really happy with working in San Juan. So for everybody involved, Leslie, city manager, where we had Rich and forget his name now. Jerry. Yeah. So
Jerry and Nick, right?
and Nick, yeah. So yeah, it was great job. And then another really cool note, I didn't get a chance to talk about this last month because I wasn't here. My neighbor, Ella Duenas, who is Eli and Megan Duenas's daughter, she goes to Christopher High School. She's on the choir. They sang at Carnegie Hall. Ella had the solo, and I got a chance to hear it, and it was absolutely amazing. I get to hear her sing all the time, you know, because I live right next door, and I hear how much better she's getting every time. But just the fact that she sang it, you know, a girl from San Juan, and she's a San Juan kid. She's lived here her whole life, so that's amazing. Talking about Women's History Month, and then another wonderful young lady in San Juan, and I've bragged about Ashley McLaughlin before. She retired, graduated from Anzar High School. She just finished her last year of competitive Western pleasure riding as a junior. And the award ceremony was last week. All the points were tallied. She ended up with a reserve state champion and 4 state championships. So that just adds to, I think now she has a total of 8 state championships and I think a reserve national champion. So she's retiring out on a pretty good note. And she's also a San Juan girl raised here. It just makes me so proud. And the fact that Shauna and I have known her since she was a baby, we're really proud of her. And that's about all I have. Next. Yeah.
Sorry.
We have one more.
Something that's really important. The Poppy Jasper International Film Festival is coming back around to San Juan Bautista. It actually has venues in Morgan Hill, Gilroy, San Martin, Hollister, and San Juan Bautista. The individual that is responsible for bringing it back to San Juan Bautista and really spearheading it and helping that film festival come alive here is Miss Fran Fitzharris, the co-owner of Brewery 25. So, and usually she holds it out at the Mission RV Park.
Mission Vineyard RV.
Yeah, and so that's coming up this month in April. And the dates are in San Juan Bautista, it's April 10th through the 17th. And there'll be a poster that you can look out for, and it's really cool. I went to it last year, and it's a pretty cool venue. A lot of nice short films that you can see. Pretty special.
They're also at the Teatro Campesino, and our very own former mayor, Cesar Flores, will be honored. Yep.
Yeah, good catch on that one. Thank you.
Here I have a quick question
Absolutely.
or correction. I was speaking with the applicant for the Arts and Winery Showcase, and their event is scheduled for July 13th and 14th, as it says in the resolution. So I just want to make sure we're on target. Thank you, EJ. Thank you.
Okay. City managers report.
Thank you. Members of the city council, I have a few slides to share, as always. Starting off with staffing and City Hall, we met Roy Morales, our public safety coordinator today. That's quite an accomplishment for us. And he's come on board right away looking at the safety officer job description, and he's helping our consulting from RGS to rewrite the job description, because the first recruitment for the safety officer position didn't result in the desired results. So Roy's going to help us put that together, and we're going to re-advertise that position. And then we'll have our public safety department fully staffed. With the we also rewriting the maintenance worker job description and recruiting for that vacancy. We have one vacancy there, and we have a final city clerk job description that's being reviewed. And that one, of course, is complicated with the roles for the administrative services duty. So I still need to talk to RGS about finalizing that. We were hoping to bring those job descriptions forward to you this time, but we decided to wait and get it right, so we didn't have to bring them back a second time. We are interviewing administrative assistant candidates that'll help us keep our offices open until 5 p.m. And from that pool of recruits, we got a really good list of candidates. We hope to also replace the lead library tech, if there's probably a good library tech candidate in there as well. Right now, we're working with 2 part-time staff at the library, and we need to shore that up as soon as possible. So that's the status of that one. I was privileged to participate in the fire chief interviews for the city of Hollister, and that was about 10 days ago on Thursday. And they have offered and received acceptance of a new fire chief, which is really great. It was our top pick. So good for Hollister. It's good for us. And on the not so good side, as the council knows, my email was hacked 2 weeks ago. That's never happened to me before. But we have insurance for that, and we have a good technical response to that. I think we're able to limit it and keep it short. It was a hack that went out. Someone got inside my system and started sending emails in my behalf, and so I had a lot of phone calls that week. No, ignore that, please. Ignore that, please. No one trusted my email anymore. That's fine. But anyway, I don't take that personally. So moving forward. Is that me? There, oops, sorry. Okay, we've already talked about a lot of this stuff, the hospital status and possible joint powers meeting. I think Councilmember Freeman did a great job of summarizing that for us. The UGB SOI committee did review the infill study from EMC, and that contract's been executed and is underway. Infill meaning that we're only looking at opportunities for development inside our city boundaries, because that's where the draft sphere of influence is surrounding just the city's political boundaries. We have a MOU that John and I are going to be working on to present to the Urban Growth Boundary Committee at their next meeting. It has a 3-tier of concentric circles, a review process that the county is supporting us on. I think we talked about the great support we're getting from the county planners, and also their need to preserve ag land in our county and designate it, which coincides perfectly with the proposed surrounding properties around our city. So that project is moving forward, and when the EMC study is done, we'll be able to submit our application and the contract with the county MOU. We'll be able to submit our application to LAFCO. We've talked about the Warner Brothers movie project. We don't know the name of it. The businesses it was great to attend the San Juan Committee's meeting following that weekend, learning that Margot's Ice Cream was open till midnight on a weekday. That's just great. So here's just some of the pictures from that day. This has to do with the 1984 Reagan war on drugs, and these are vehicles that they brought in to imitate Border Patrol. And then this is a picture. This is all we asked for at City Hall, was a picture with the crew. So there's Francisco right front and center from our maintenance crew, and Nick's in the back here, the false one, of course, and Liz and Veronica are over here, and Jerry. So that was cool that we got a picture of the crew. Sorry, Leonardo didn't make this picture. This is Adam Somner here. He's the producer, the director, I'm sorry. And it was great to meet Adam Somner. He works with Steven Spielberg. This is he and his assistant, Holly, I think her name was. So it was fun to see how they dressed up the plaza and the lawn and put a dance floor out there and really changed the face, but also brought something different to our town. So if I could get a movie production once a month, that would be awesome. I think you appreciate that, and we'd have a lot more fun. Well, speaking of fun, recreation, I think Caitlin is doing a great job setting up. Our very first event was a date night, and she partnered with Bears Hideaway. I think that's great that the city's partnering with some of our businesses. We had 35 members in attendance, including the chair of our planning commission, who I understand gave a raving results. We served 150 root beer floats. Thanks again to Margot's at the fire department open house. I understand from Councilmember Freeman that that was mostly small kids, or maybe it was Councilmember Jordan. I was unable to make it that day, but we had 200 to 300 people here, and all dressed up, little kids in fire outfits. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And then we're also planning a bigger and better Earth Day celebration. We have our application into the state park to reserve the plaza for that day. That'll be the third Saturday in April. And we have working with Integrated Waste Management on that. Movie night is being set up for every Friday in May at Rudy Park, including popcorn. And we're going to sit out on the grass, and we have a donated projector for that. And we have some cool movies planned, family-friendly movies. Give the community a place to meet. As with the council's approval of an additional 10 hours a week, last council meeting, we've added special events to Caitlin's list of things to do. And so we're introducing her to that. We've had a few bumps along the road, but I think we've got it straightened out. She's working with our 4-leaf planning staff, Adriana and Magda, and helping coordinate on the ground our special events. So she's responsible for a lot of the information in our packet on the road closures this time. And she also attended the CPRS, California Park and Rec Society conference, where she learned a ton about new trends, especially diversity, equity, and inclusion types of exercises that recreation departments are becoming really active in. The library, working with Steve Harris and his band, are planning 3 Art in the Park events. And that's pretty cool. They're coming up beginning the 3rd week in June, July, and August. And so those are, okay, there it goes. All right, real quick, the sewer force main to Hollister project is making good progress during good weather. We're moving the pipes on Catano Street to the Loazes property. The city attorney helped us draft a small agreement to make that happen this week is our goal. We are laying pipe now on San Juan Highway. I know it's causing some traffic delays for folks. The Councilmember Freeman likes that. The job's getting done, so we're making progress. Yeah, we just cut him. We just got $1 million check in the last warrant register towards that project, and that's all grant and low interest loan money that we're spending. And so we're staying on time, and we continue to be under budget on that. The water import status is on the agenda tonight, so I won't spend a lot of time with that. But we did spend a lot of time with the lobbyist Rojas Communication and meeting with the staff, both state and federal elected officials, mostly focused on funding that project. As much as $13 million. That's later on our agenda. This is the pipe going in on San Juan Highway last week. Shows the process of digging the trench. This is our construction manager, Bill. We don't know what this is. We're finding all kinds of interesting things down there. There's no doubt in my mind that we had a great concrete plant because there's a lot of concrete out there. Must have been inexpensive. So I just wanted to share a quick picture of that project. Some of us aren't able to get out there. The Water District Governance Committee was discussed, and the LAFCO slides were distributed to the council concerned with disenfranchisement, where people paying for water won't have a say in what their water rates are. And so LAFCO was interested in reorganizing that into maybe a regional district that includes Sunny Slope and all of the smaller districts. And then I attend the 3CE Operations Board on the second of a 2-year term that we share with Hollister. They are looking at something referred to as resource adequacy, meaning that they have reserve power in case they suddenly lose a source, that there's no interruption to the service. This is one of the most expensive things they buy, and I helped approve a $295 million contract on a battery storage facility in Los Angeles County to provide the resource adequacy. The record contract I've voted on at 3CE is over $700 million, so they spend a lot of money at that place. Yeah, and they make a pretty good sandwich too. Um, we explored, John and I were exploring, along with, Citygate, Stacy Visto, vacancy tax ordinance. And Stacy had some new ideas for us to consider, so we wanted to take a little pause and explore I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. Thank you, EJ. It moved faster than I did. In community development, our HRB and planning commission, had a good meeting on the 14th. We caught up on the status reports for the certified local government submission, which has to do with our historic preservation. And when we get the 22 and 23 reports approved, which we did, we referred to planning commission. Then we can submit them to the state and become eligible for historic preservation grants again. Did I skip another slide?
Yes, we'll get it at the end.
Thank you. And we've got a reply due to the Housing and Community Development Department, April 1st on a housing element, and I have a final draft on my desk. It's about a 20-page response to our first submittal from last September. We've been issuing a temporary use of land permits for food trucks in the city. One in particular on a vacant property near 4th Street has come back and asked for an extension of that. And at the next planning commission, Four Leaf is prepared to talk about a food truck ordinance for our city modeled after the city of Monterey, which talks about location and health and safety. And then also a modification to the temporary use of land permit to make this codified rather than 6 months temporary provision. The gas station hearing is hopefully in April. We were checking on that. I don't know, Liz, if you heard from the planners on the gas station proposal coming back. Will that make it not in April? So, okay, in May. So it is moving forward though. And then we were told by the state that we needed to adjust our funding for the local housing assistance state grant program. We received $79,000 in 2019 funds. And that's the top number in the left-hand corner. And if we don't use it or have it obligated by the end of this month, then they may have to claw it back. And so we're trying to prevent that. And we have two projects indicated for the use of these funds. One is accessory dwelling unit compliance. That's funding to help someone with an existing accessory dwelling unit bring it into compliance with our building laws. And then HSS stands for Homeless Supportive Services. So at the end of the agreement, we had planned to use about $64,000 for that program. And the ADU project just got off the ground. We have one application in process right now on 3rd Street, and it's a great candidate for this project, but it's not going to spend $76,000. So what we're recommending and trying to bring back to the next council meeting is switching the homeless supportive services funding to earlier in the program and then spending the accessory dwelling unit funding later in the program. So swapping them while the ADU project becomes more popular. So we will do more marketing and outreach and try and make sure that every accessory dwelling unit in town is up to building code standards. And then, okay, so we started on this already. We're going to bring this back in more detail, exploring vacancy registration fees and a vacancy fee that doesn't require the Prop 218 process. So we'll be reviewing that with Citygate in the very near future. And so I missed one. Which one did I miss?
Business associations.
Here we go.
Special events.
Okay. Here we go. This one, right? So I met with the Spirit of San Juan. I think I've already alluded to that, and we talked about the San Juan Days application that we received. It was on tonight's agenda. Special events were discussed, and they were reviewing different membership types and processes. Discover San Juan. I talked with Mrs. B about a wine and art festival, the Harvest Festival in October, and exploring a farmers market and weekly car club visits. So both groups have great ideas for our downtown. We want to facilitate that as best we can. RGS sent the city a business-friendly assessment, and there are several different areas that they had questions about: economic development, cutting red tape, taxes, fees, and incentives. And the scoring for our city ranged from good, satisfactory, and opportunities for improvement. So we have a lot of improvement to do there. And it's a good measure of our strengths and weaknesses. I'm happy to share that with the public and the council if you want to see it. So it's an interesting assessment. So, okay, is that it? I think I've covered it all. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. John, do you have anything for
No questions. No.
Leslie? Any questions?
A couple of comments, please, and thank you. Lisa, bye. The Warner Brothers movie project, what an amazing thing for the city that was. For almost 3 weeks, we had the advanced group and then the whole team of actors and actresses come in, and the air that was I mean, you could feel the electricity in the city. It was absolutely amazing. It was the most polite and generous group that came into San Juan. Couldn't say enough about our downtown, our businesses, our community, our staff, our everybody, everything. And they supported us as much as we supported them. It was beautiful. The day that they were to move out, there was no electricity in the air. It was bad. It was horrible. It was a sad day for San Juan. Oh, back to normal. And having ice cream at Margot's at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night was phenomenal. And it was packed. It was great. It was super cool. The fire department open house, lots of little kids. It was super cool. And there were tons that had little fire suits on. And probably should only count 149 root beer floats because 2 of them were mine. Super cool seeing the force main. Thank you for that update. A question on the tulip and the food truck ordinance. We've had a permanent food truck, what seems to be permanent. And just an odd thing to see in here. So if there's going to be language, whether they're permanent or have to rotate in and out in a day.
There are a few parcels in town with conditional use permits, like Brewery 18 with a provision for that. So, but permanent is a good question. It needs to be, it's intended to be limited to 4 days maximum.
Okay, we have one that's a little bit more than that. Gas station hearing hopefully in April, but it'll be in May. And what is that?
They're coming back with a site plan that needs to be approved.
Oh, that was the whole floodplain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And looking forward to Citygate coming in and going over a lot of things, including the vacancy tax ordinance. I've had several people come up to me on both sides of the fence on that one. But it's a good thing that we get that in there, having so many vacancies. Courtney, I think, spoke at the public comment about folks not wanting to come in, or they get here and businesses aren't open, and to see that and they say, well, how do I know it's going to be open next week if I drive all the way here? And that was one of the cool things with Warner Brothers here. People were open, and it was really nice to see San Juan open, like the sign says out on 156 in Monterey. Thank you.
Welcome. Jackie, do you have anything?
Oh, yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I had a question as far as the PLHA. So just for myself and the public, what's the acronym stand for?
Local housing assistance grant from the state housing development.
Okay, so the PL? Public,
Local housing assistance, and the P is escaping now.
okay, public maybe. I don't know. I'm,
There are 10 deputies.
Yeah.
And the council selected two,
okay. And then, the report that you met with the two different business associations. It looks like my only, comment on that is to make sure that there is no overlapping dates, that there's no conflicting dates. I know the Spirit of San Juan has established your San Juan days, for a few years now, so, and I also don't see the car show that, I think, I don't know if it's no, it's the Dubs, yeah. Just that I just want to make sure that it's not conflicting with any of the other events, and it looks like we have a new wine and art festival in July, which sounds pretty cool. Just to make sure that isn't conflict, because I thought that the Volkswagen one was in July, just.
It
wanna make sure.
it is July 27th.
And then the wine and art festival in July is the dates. So then that's like a week apart. That's gonna be a really cool, busy month.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, so there's no conflict.
No conflicts.
Okay. And then another acronym, RGS.
Regional Government Services, a nonprofit that supports human resources and other things that we do.
Okay. And then it looks like you're already putting our new employee to work. He's writing job descriptions, so that's cool.
That's his employee, right?
Yeah. So welcome. And it looks like we're gonna have our city hall maybe open up till 5 PM real soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, because it looks like you have a job offer being written to a qualified admin assistant candidate.
I was wrong about that. Thank you for catching that. There's one more round with a few more interviews due to a technical issue that came up, so we're giving a few more folks a chance at an interview. But yes, it'll be within the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great. So we will be open till 5, maybe by May.
I would say 6 weeks or so. Before then?
Okay.
Thanks, Liz.
All right, great. Thank you.
nice, well done.
Thank you. Anything?
Most of my questions or comments were covered. My only request, hi Roy, as you guys start, getting into the thick of things, maybe including, a report from public safety in the city manager's report or with the sheriffs and fire reports.
Yeah, I think we'll be better at that moving forward. Thank you. And I did invite the sheriff, but it was kind of last minute.
I don't expect a report on day 2, but
I'm gonna ask him for his 90-day report, right? Like the council did for the.
I don't think he'll have any problems cranking that out. Anything else? Okay, what's the first one that jumped out? Oh, movie night at the parks. That's gonna be great. There's a lot of small, I've seen a lot of small communities do them, and that's pretty cool. It's always kind of fun to rehash some of those old 80s movies, right? Looking forward to some of the events coming up. I mean, it's gonna be a busy summer, which is great. So, I had the concern from the Courtney who, expressed her concern. She's, you better be here. There's like 7 of them, so looking forward to that. Thank you for working with the construction company and getting the pipes over to the other side of the property. Those pipes, I have no doubt if we have good weather, they're gonna be done with that pipe. They're cranking that thing out fast. So I would bet within a week or so, most of that pipe's already in the ground, which is pretty incredible. Gas station, last I heard from Caltrans, there still hasn't really been any response from the gas station to Caltrans. So yeah, the right turn lane. So
I'll follow up with city engineer on that, man.
yeah, because Caltrans is kind of waiting for some type of response. I don't think they're sandbagging me when I asked them that. It's at a COG meeting, so and so was this a typo? You said they agreed to spend $295 million in LA County?
on a brand new solar and battery storage energy production in LA County. So it's a like a 20-acre field of solar panels and battery storage.
Interesting. So you're,
We make a recommendation to the policy board, and the policy board approves the contract.
but isn't that Central Coast? So how does LA County get all that new stuff?
So it gets complicated real quick. It's a Western grid. Where the electrons come from is almost inconsequential, but it's critical. And I know that's contradictory, but he can't tell you where those electrons come. Only accountants think they can track them. That's interesting. The engineers say, no, it's once it's in the wires, it's all mixed up. So, and RA, which is resource adequacy, is basically an insurance policy. It's costing you and I, no matter if you're a 3CE customer or PG&E customer, that's costing you and I. And so anytime that 3CE can buy an insurance policy on the cheap, they're gonna do it. I hope that explains it.
Probably backing up what you're asking, it's all the way down there. It's not really a lot of our business. If we are on that grid, how do we make sure we get the appropriate priority when we need it?
But we're not, because that's Southern Cal Edison. And their lines and PG&E lines don't connect.
Yeah, they do. It's a Western grid. It's operated by the ISO, which stands for Independent Operator.
Yeah.
The investor-owned utilities take what they get from the ISO.
Okay.
So it's
Like the gas grid. It's like the
Yeah.
national grid.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's a Western grid. It's 12 Western states. For example, there is a electrical line, which one's from the Bonneville Power Plant in, I believe it's the state of Washington, all the way down to San Fernando Valley. Now, that's a show you how it's tied together.
You just said LA County and I
Yeah.
got a little,
So
got a little twisted.
This is the contract that causes them to sell it to us before anybody else. That's
Oh, okay.
the purpose of the contract is to give us first right.
Yeah, makes more sense. And that was, thanks for the clarification on the acronyms. Again, I'm terrible with them. Okay, do we have any public comment on these?
Yes, we have one speaker card, Michael Onsi.
Hello, that clock isn't running. So I do have a couple comments just on city manager's report. I have been in contact with city manager Don Reynolds through email and a couple of one-on-one meetings, and I continue to thank you for that. My concerns are with the wastewater and water projects. I know at the end of the meeting, there'll be a discussion. I'm trying to figure out a way how to get past that 3-minute clock, because this is just a little bit of the material that I want to be included in the discussion. I ended up buying myself a little iPad and still trying to learn how to use it to try to organize myself. But my concerns are with the blend that we're talking about.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about that part.
But this was on his.
Yeah,
his
that's when you talk about that one. Do you have one on the wastewater? Because you did discuss that right now.
Yeah, I do. My concern is with the 3 industrial users. I have been reading some very interesting information about that, and it is scary, and it is, how should I word it? They're a big problem for our wastewater project, and I feel that they are more than 50% of our problem. And I feel that we are spending $25 million to correct the problem, when half of the problem is with our industrial users, that apparently only one of them has an agreement. We don't even have a pre-treatment agreement with them, but we should. If they're using more than 5% of our volume, we're entitled to have a pre-treatment agreement with them, which we do not. And we send a letter to them, and 2021, 2.5 years ago, and nothing has been done. So that's another concern that I hope that I can be involved in the discussion when it comes up. Another one is chromium-6. I know Council person Jordan talked about it or asked about it when Holly Kennedy from Hollister Water District did a presentation last month or a month and a half ago. The state is coming out with a new MCL, which has never had one for chromium-6. They've had total chromium, which is a combination of chromium-6 and chromium-3. Chromium-3 is completely harmless. So in the water world, they use
Thanks, Mike.
I'm hoping for more.
Thanks. Yep. Do we have any more?
We have one hand raised on Zoom.
Okay.
Mr. Pisano, you have 3 minutes. I don't know if it's Ida or.
Good evening, everyone. This is Ida Pisano, resident of San Juan Bautista. I just wanted to say thank you for all the good work that the city and the staff have been doing. I really like listening to the reports with regards to progress for San Juan Bautista, but I did want to mention possible consideration for the city council for future budget. I wrote this down, so my apologies, but whereas San Juan Bautista has had a recent peak of interest from the film industry, and whereas the city has also received recent acknowledgement from local media, print as well as social, but whereas San Juan Bautista has many points of interest that are not easily seen nor well known, and whereas the Economic Development Committee has been disbanded, and whereas the city is losing businesses and vendors, specifically like, having food trucks and others open, and whereas funds and financial assistance are needed to keep the city alive, please consider having a marketing strategy, marketing company or advertising company that would put San Juan Bautista on the map nationally, not just local, but nationally, because we do have a lot of things to offer other states, tourists, and so on. And it would bring back San Juan alive and on the map. So when you get to the budget point later on, just remember all these good things that are being reported and what we can do to continue that and grow San Juan in that regard as far as being known nationally. That's all. And again, thank you for the staff and all the good things that are happening here in San Juan.
Thank you. Do you have any others?
No other hands raised or speaker cards in chambers. It's not related to it, but go ahead.
Is it related to item D?
Oh. I don't know when I'm supposed to speak, but yeah.
Okay. Any more questions, comments? Council? Don, question. On the wastewater questions that Mike Ponce has, do you want to address any of that right now? Or would you?
I've received a lot of these questions, so I am prepared to respond to them. I was gonna say that for our water discussions.
Okay, you good with that, Mike? Okay. No, you get 3 minutes. Yeah, it's all right. His fishing boat hasn't run in a long time.
And if I'm right, and Ms. Hill wants to talk about, I think probably the mandala, and she should have done that under public comment. Under general public comment.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're moving past the manager's report. So do we have an update from the fire department? Glad we have anybody on.
Is George not on today?
Who's panelists?
Yeah, no, I don't see him. I don't see him. Both.
Okay.
Well, you fire chief.
Yeah. Where do you, do you have any information on, I guess, did they make him an offer and did he accept and?
Yes,
Okay,
he's
where's,
a deputy from Watsonville.
oh, okay,
Chief.
good, local. No. Sheriff's Department updates?
Yeah, I don't see that either, except I did, I did get an email today from Commander Urena about a second deputy and making room and space for a second deputy, and that's something we've been waiting 18 months for.
Yes.
And I understand their recruiting is going better than it was, and so I want to say I'm optimistic we'll have a second deputy in the next few months.
That's great news.
Yes.
That trend must be coming up, because I noticed Tuolumne County, I think they just hired something like 6 new deputies, so that's some good stuff.
Can I speak on DB?
On the consent?
Manager report.
Well, we've already passed it. We're down to the Sheriff's Department.
Who wants to talk about the sheriff's department?
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, Sheriff's Department, go ahead.
Yes, they're gonna use our water.
Yeah, no, just real quick, there's been talk about vehicle break-ins and vehicle thefts of a very expensive vehicle. Down in my area of town, I was just wondering if the new flock cameras have been installed. I heard that that vehicle was recovered, and just want to know if the flock cameras helped in that investigation of recovering the vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you. Don, do you want to answer that, since we're kind of in the same?
Yeah, I'm not certain. I haven't asked that specific question. And maybe Roy knows, but it's my understanding the flock cameras are the license plate reading cameras. And they're at the entrances and exits to the city. So those would be watching for license plates coming and going from the city. And I don't know if we caught anyone on that or not. So I haven't had a chance. I reached out to the sheriff today, but I did not hear back. So I apologize for that. The pan and tilt cameras, one here at City Hall and at Abbey Park, I think still need to be hardwired before they become functional. So the cameras are being installed, and we're gonna start training with Roy now that he's here. So if they were up, there's a possibility to help.
Thank you. Any other comments? Nothing from the public? You pretty much covered it. We don't have any questions for the show. You're okay. Okay. What's that? Hopefully out there catching bad guys. Okay, consent. Item H has been tabled until the next meeting. So then we have, that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 consent items. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent? John?
No.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
B, please.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna call that. Does anybody from the public want to pull an item from the consent agenda?
Seeing no speaker cards. But we do have one hand raised in Zoom.
Okay,
Hi, this is Michelle Sabathia.
Michelle,
I wanted to pull item C just for a quick discussion.
okay,
And that's it.
okay, no problem. Anybody else? Okay, awesome. Motion to approve A, D, E, F, and G.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Did you get those, Liz? Okay. Can you roll call us, please?
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Do you want to go first? You want to give Michelle a shot at the,
No, we have Michelle go.
yeah,
That's okay.
Michelle, you still up? We can,
Hi, I'm here.
Okay.
I just wanted to pull C, more on a commentary end and just to notify you guys that I'll be going on maternity leave, which means that I will not be available to take care of my duties. So, I did speak to Dawn and I thought it would just be relevant and the appropriate time to mention it now. I'm thinking of taking some time, about 4 months, so I'm hoping Wendy can cover for me during that time, but I'm open to suggestions, comments, or your thoughts.
okay, thank you. Anybody for Michelle?
Congratulations. Enjoy the nap.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not that we don't want you back, but if 4 months isn't enough, we all understand. So do what's right for your family. But thank
Thank
you,
you.
Michelle.
Thank you.
B?
B, I just wanted to make everybody aware that the first packet that went out only had 1, 2, 3 street closures for the Arts and Crafts Festival, which is this weekend, the Rib Cook-Off in April, and San Juan Day in August, August 11th. And the new packet that came out on whenever it came out, I don't know. We're adding the Artisan and Wineries Showcase in July and the Harvest Festival in October. I think those were the only 2 additions. Any concerns with the way I pulled that? No? Good. All right.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mayor, before we proceed, we did not take a action on item C.
Okay, we can't do them both at the same time. We do.
And they're pulled, so
Pulled,
they have to
okay.
be separate.
Okay. A motion to approve C.
I'll make a motion to approve C.
Second.
Oh, let's just do an all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is that okay, Liz? All in favor? Okay, well, let's do a roll call then.
You're trying to save the
I
time.
know.
I know, but I think we have specific language that says they have to be
I know.
roll call vote. That's
Okay.
the only reason why.
Okay.
I don't want to be difficult, but
No, that's okay. I'm gonna get yelled at when I go home, so it's okay.
Councilmember Freeman, Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully both ends. Okay, any questions on B? From anybody at council? Nothing? Questions on B? Nothing? Okay. A motion to approve B?
I'll make a motion to approve item B with the added events.
Second.
I don't want to say anything.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay. Now we have an action item. San Benito Leadership Institute. We receive an update from San Benito Leadership Institute and a request for a sponsorship in the amount of $5,000 to help support the new adult leadership education program.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. We reviewed our mid-year budget at our February City Council meeting, and we discussed possibly funding the initiation of this new, the renewal of this institute from its past life into a new life post-COVID. And the council had several questions, so I've invited Ms. Weatherly to come back tonight and update the council to the status of the work of presenting a brand new San Benito County Leadership Institute. So Brenda's here today, and she's provided a letter and a status in your packet.
So good evening, council and mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the San Benito Leadership Institute. We are planning on launching in September of this year.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you though.
Sure.
I do not, thank you. It's an amazing opportunity after having a conversation with you, probably on several occasions. All of my questions were answered and
Wonderful.
super thrilled to have this starting up again.
Great. And I would welcome if there's anybody, if you want to recommend anybody from San Juan Bautista for us to consider to put on the committee or one of our subcommittees, please just let me know who might be interested. If they're working committees.
Okay.
Are you looking for instructors?
Our facilitators are Dr. Rose and Corinne Kepler, so we've got that part taken
Okay.
care of. When we're doing the actual more curriculum planning, there will be panelists that will be asked to come present on different topics. Those are all still being worked out, but
Cool.
I'll reach out if we need help figuring out who that would be appropriate, definitely.
Thank you.
Jackie, do you have anything?
Yeah, thank you. I
Okay.
think, I'm don't know a whole lot about your program other than just what I'm reading. So what are the ages of the potential candidates? What range?
Adult only, so 21, and we're really looking for people who are new to a management position or mid-level management in supervisory roles or leads that would want to further their skills, get more skills so that they can continue to move up the ladder. Anybody that's thinking about running for elected office, anybody involved in nonprofit, if they're an executive director or senior management of a nonprofit, those were all people that we would love to love to receive applications from.
Mhm. Okay.
Pretty much, anybody that's really wanting to improve their leadership skills and grow them to make our communities better.
So it sounds like you're taking from different sectors, private, nonprofit, potential political candidates,
Our
community based.
We really want to have a diverse cohort, so we are going to be looking at all those, balances in the cohort because we learn from each other too. So that's going to be very important as we interview people and decide who we're going to allow each year. And if there are some really solid candidates that don't make it into the first cohort because we have too many women or whatever wherever we are for the metrics, we'll just invite them to apply next year.
So how long is the program?
It's 9 months,
9 months, and
Mhm.
is it meeting like once a week?
once a month,
Once a month?
one day, once a month.
And do they get a certificate of
Yes.
some sort at the end of their
Yes.
completion?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the bullet points or you've got some type of battle plan because I
Yeah,
know,
that's just the update. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
continuing to
well,
work on everything.
I know we talked about a month ago and you were talking, put a lot of this together.
Yeah.
And I did have one of the concerns was, that they'd have to be from San Benito County and I see it's in here,
Yeah, live or work in San Benito County.
live or work.
If they're working here, they're still contributing to San Benito County in the workforce. So,
Okay.
but they can also live here and work elsewhere too and still attend the program.
Yeah, okay, that's true. 9 months, wow. Sounds like an academy.
That was our original name and then we had to change it.
Yeah. Golly.
It's just one day a month right? Yeah, it's 9 months for 1 day a month.
Okay,
So it's doable.
okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Public questions or comments? Oh, sorry, EJ, I apologize. Excuse me.
I'm gonna talk to Sean.
Yeah, I bet you don't even have a question.
I did originally have a bunch of questions. Your update answers a lot of those. One outstanding thing that is there a way, I don't want, not for myself, but for others, is there a way to get somebody from San Juan or from the council on that selection?
Sure, that's why I invited, if there's people that are interested in being involved with this group,
Mhm.
I'd be happy to talk with them. We need to make sure we find somebody or people to work with us that are gonna work with the group that's already established and is a good fit, which
Yeah.
is, that it's just finding a good fit so we can keep on moving forward with the momentum we have. But I'd love to have people from San Juan. We do have Wayne Norton. I know he lives in Aromas, but he's on one of our subcommittees. And Carrie Valdez, who works for Taylor Farms, is on our main committee.
Okay.
So. But yes, please, I welcome.
Thanks for stepping up.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna have your hands full here pretty soon. 9-month academy, a child.
You're gonna be in trouble with my wife and yours.
Yeah, please let me know. Leslie knows how, you know how to get a hold of me. My phone numbers should be on there, but if you have any suggestions on who you'd like to have involved, let me know.
Yep. So no questions, comments from the. Now we can go to the public.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
No speaker cards received and no hands raised in Zoom.
Okay, any other questions or comments? What's your pleasure?
I make a motion to approve the $5,000.
Second.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Okay, action item B. Schedule a strategic planning workshop. I'll go ahead and let you run with that one, Don.
Thank you, Mayor Frios. Is the slideshow that you brought up, I had a few slides at the end of it. There's the one called V2, Liz. See one with a V2 next to it. At the end of there are 2 slideshows in your folder. No, that's not it. Okay. Thank you. So a year ago, we launched a very in-depth strategic planning effort, meeting several times, both publicly and in workshop formats with Citygate, and Tracy Bristow from Citygate conducted those meetings with us. We culminated in a weekend and meeting in the library. Yeah, was it there? It's on the other one. Thank you. And the purpose of that 61-page document is to give us a mission statement and a list of values and priorities moving forward that form a strategic plan. And my goal is to annually come back before we prepare the budget and review that strategic plan and see if it needs to be updated and amended in any way. And so what I'm presenting in this staff report are the sections in the strategic plan regarding the approved core values and the approved guiding priorities. And then in your staff report, I've provided our accomplishments regarding those sections. And there is more detail in the staff report also regarding the core findings and recommendations. And the core findings and recommendations refer to the fiscal improvements that the city should consider, 12 of them, and the recommendations that accompany that. Of the 9 recommendations. And then there's the public safety recommendations, some of which we're implementing as we speak. And then there are executive leadership recommendations. And so what I tried to do in this report is the last attachment is a list of accomplishments. And I should have given a slide for that as well. Under infrastructure, economic development, public safety, recreation activities, and fiscal stability. Those are the values that are listed in the Citygate report. And under those, I've provided several examples of infrastructure progress, ranging from the community center and the sewer force main, the Loaiza subdivision and roundabout, Rancho Vista and installation of the microbe nitrate treatment plant. Economic development is something that we are rethinking as we speak, as we are starting over again with an economic development strategy. So that needs to be fleshed out when we talk about our strategic plan. And then public safety, including code enforcement and disaster preparedness. We've installing our security camera system, our new safety coordinator and a new safety officer. We're also part of the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan that was adopted in 2023. The recreation activities, as we know, we've hired a new rec assistant. We bought new recreation software program, partnering with volunteer organizations. And we've already reviewed the events tonight that we're working on, including the open house at the fire department and the Earth Day event. And then fiscal stability, staying the course with timely budget adoption and clean audit schedule, is on schedule, and the mid-year budget review. So we are making progress on all of these different things. And the goal tonight is to talk about having a workshop that Stacy Bristow would return to town and facilitate for us on a Friday afternoon and Saturday morning. That seem to be the two best time slots where we could get the most attendance. We would invite the community to share in those discussions, and we allow Stacy to facilitate that. So focusing our strategic plan on these issues, Stacy talks about the core values of collaboration, honesty, resourcefulness, accountability, and integrity. And these are things that she talks about: the culture of City Hall, the culture of our staff, being a happy and fun place to work. Sometimes we are so intense that I think we intimidate our residents. She thinks there's a lot of work we could do in lightening up the feeling, the culture and the environment around City Hall, and also to provide a theme for our service delivery and to make sure that our service delivery is one of pride and integrity and equity and fairness. So she's going to come and help review that for us, and we'll continue to work on the guiding priorities. If there are new priorities we can add or discuss. So the whole goal that I have tonight is to have the council talk about potential dates for a workshop on a Friday night, Saturday morning. And I suggested April 5 and 6 because that helps inform our budget that would come to you in May. So that was my objective in choosing those two dates. I'm not sold on those two dates. We could bounce that around based on the council's availability. I know that I believe your due date is April 4th. 11th, okay. Yeah, so we're gonna work around everybody's schedule and then pick a date that works. So with that, Mayor, I'm happy to go over this material in more detail with you or answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. John, do you have any questions or comments?
Looking at section 7.24, the priorities, I actually think we're doing a really good job on all except one of them, okay, which would, the one that we're not doing a particularly good job is economic development. The others, I think, recreation, I think is moving ahead at a good clip. Public safety, we just hired Roy, that's heading at a good clip, and the water and sewer projects, I think will come together. And Don, I have a lot of trust in to always present us with a budget, a balanced budget, one that fits our income. So the only one that we really haven't done well in is economic development.
Thank you. Leslie, anything?
No, sorry, no, no, nothing on this. I'm excited for City Gate to come back and see where we were and how far we've come. I'm not sure of the dates yet, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to having discussions again with City Gate.
Be on the opposite side. My understanding, this is only my second year as an elected. I did attend this meeting last year. I felt that we strategized and we put in order priority over long range plans of up to 5 years. So I'm kind of confused as to why we'll have Ms. Bristow come back with her company and do the same amount of time with us. considering that we've already hit some of the benchmarks, I would think that maybe a briefer amount of time with her, instead of 2 days, maybe a Saturday. Because we have outlined, as I recall, she had us go through this whole exercise of what's the priority you want to do in the first year, first 18 months, first 20, and so forth. And so I thought that was a good starting point. And it looks like we pretty much delivered on the priority ones. You have a rec tech, you have a safety coordinator now, you're hiring an administrative assistant. We did lose an assistant city manager. I don't know that in her report that was even an essential job that we wanted to keep with the city. There are some other recommendations that I haven't seen, and for me, really important, the fiscal part of it. They talked about doing some policies as to how we handle our cash intake. I don't see that. I mean, I think that less time with her and focusing on the things that are important that we really need to, and handling cash, getting the policies written. Definitely, I think it's an HR thing when we talk about a fun place and people being lively. To me, that's an HR issue. And I think they had some really strong recommendations about certain employees or positions that we haven't really done anything with. So I don't know that it would be a good use of our funds to have her come back for 2 full days or 2 part days and just really hone in on what we haven't accomplished that they already told us last year that we should do. That's my personal opinion on it as one council member. Thank you.
Thank you.
I get to talk this time.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough.
I did enjoy our time with Citygate. I think a lot of good came out of it. I was surprised to see this on as an additional spin so soon. I would love to see us kind of, along with what Jackie was saying, execute a little bit more on the plans that were already made with them. And then if and when we bring her back, a more focused scope of work and deliverables would be my desire. That's all.
Thank you. It was nice to see this big list of accomplishments for 23-24. And I do have to agree, right at the very back, the very bottom, it says developing a 5-year. We did set a lot of that. I could see a day of goal setting for the next. We're pretty much the same group that approved this last, so I don't, unless something's drastically changed in any of our minds, I think we're all in the same progress or where we're going, and it's definitely a pretty accomplished list. I mean, it's a lot to do. I can tell you, I have commitments on April 6th, so there's no way I can make that.
Okay.
Maybe a straw poll, from maybe somebody, we get a call tomorrow or something, so we can all, most of my calendars are on the wall at home, so it's but I wouldn't mind doing a goal setting session, for this year. I don't know if we need.
It could be a Friday afternoon. I did receive a proposal from her that came after the report was written, and I'll give you a lot more specifics and details. But if you wanted, I thought I recall a 6-month process, Councilmember Lopez, because we did a survey of 175 people. We did a little kind of outreach, and so anyway, that was almost a 6-month process last year. So, but that's why I thought I was recommending a briefer process this time. But I'm happy to do that. I think it'd be great just to have it come back and do some goal setting. It's fine, we can do that too.
Yeah, so, what do you?
Okay, so I can, Liz and I can work with the council members and we can pick a date for that. Is it Friday afternoon okay with most people? Or is it Saturday morning better? You're starting a new job, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to see dates.
The 6th is no good for me.
Okay. Okay.
I have
Yeah.
stuff all that day. Meetings.
Yeah, okay, let's go to public comments or questions, and then we'll come back with a brainstorm what we want to do.
No hands raised and no speaker cards in chambers.
Didn't give us much time to think about it too. What do y'all think about it? You think we need 2 days?
I would think one solid day would be fun. I don't think. And it sounds like from the description, she's a late Friday, not a late,
Yeah.
a Friday afternoon and a Saturday morning. To me, that adds up to one day, and it could probably be more efficiently done in one day, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
But I think we could pull off a Saturday, but I think we need to kind of
Pick a Saturday works for everyone.
get a straw poll, works for everybody, yeah.
Nothing in April. All my Saturdays are totally booked.
Well, yeah, I agree, and. And the last weekend of April is opening weekend of trout season, which is incredibly important. Look at Mike back there. Okay, so
Fourth,
I couldn't tell you a date right now. I couldn't give a.
Yeah, I think the action is to reach out and figure out.
Yeah.
What day?
guidance.
what one day works?
Sound good? Yep. Well, that sounds good. Okay.
Fair enough. I can still work on the budget.
Awesome.
Work to do.
Okay.
Well, is this an action item? Do we have to have a motion to pick a day?
Yeah, because we're not spending the money or anything, right?
You don't have to take action. We can. Yeah,
Okay.
It's an action item. Schedule a strategic planning workshop. I make a motion to schedule a strategic planning
But we
workshop.
can't.
At a date that fits all of us. TBD.
Okay, then you want
Second?
to move that then?
Second.
I make a motion to schedule a strategic planning workshop at a date to be determined,
Second.
one day. Thank you.
A day.
A day. Do you have that? You want me to redo it? Okay.
I'm sorry, I had a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Jordan and the second was Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan, Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Can we take a 5-minute recess? Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
That's the other. This one's off.
Do you want this one?
Like that? Or- We don't need an assistant city manager, but we need a city planner. Okay, I know, that's the.
Your 5 minutes is up.
Historic Resource Board / Planning Commission vacancy. Appoint an ad hoc committee to review candidate applications for planning commission and make recommendations to the city council to fill the vacancy. On you up.
Sure. I'm sorry.
It's only 8 o'clock, so you're doing all right.
Sometimes the city clerk helps the council with recruiting planning commissioners and
Okay.
interview candidates. And
Well,
we're
I'm reading right here, it says receive report from city manager Don Reynolds, so that's it.
She wrote that.
He threw you under the truck.
She wrote that. I'm sorry.
All right, somebody do it.
I will hopefully close her attention. The request before the council tonight is to fill the vacancy on our planning commission. From Tony Correa, who had to resign due to work obligations, increased work obligations. So it's unfortunate. Tony was an excellent commissioner and contributed a lot. We have a vacancy now, and so we generally come back to the city council and ask for authority to solicit and recruit. And when we get those applications in, to appoint an ad hoc committee to review them and make a recommendation to the council. So, Liz, would you like to add anything?
Just that the term expires in December of 2024. So it's a short term, but you know, it's nice to have a full commission.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions? We start, John? Leslie, we've done this before, so. Yeah. Any questions, Leslie? Okay, comments, Jackie?
Yeah, I have a comment. Looking at the deadline for the application submittals, 29th of March is just right around the corner. Can we consider extending that maybe to mid-April, tax day, April 15th?
If we can get somebody seated, I mean, I would do it maybe a little closer to the beginning of the month to get somebody seated. Right, when's their next meeting? The first Tuesday?
April 2.
The first Tuesday.
Because I think the point that I was gonna make is that we still have a quorum intact if they all show up. We got 4.
Got it.
The intent was to give the subcommittee, the ad hoc committee, plenty of time to interview the candidate or, you know, review the applications and meet. So that was the intent, and not prolong it for a long time, but you know, we can do whatever the council decides.
When did sorry,
It was just posted on Friday.
and
So
have we
it's-
gotten anybody?
Question.
I think maybe we give the deputy city clerk a little leeway. If we don't get any applications by the posted due date, then extend it. If we do, we can keep going. And then my only other comment would be if and when the time comes for ad hoc selection, I'd love to throw my hat in.
I would too.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. We'll give her leeway and we'll see what we can do. How about if we just,
So do we want to select the committee?
it does say add, it does say appoint, so on the, yeah,
I think it would be a good idea, since the next meeting for the city council is not in a month, so. You know, that way we don't waste any time and try to get that seat filled as soon as we can.
okay. No, I don't think, I'm not opposed to Both of you doing it? Anybody else? Nobody? Okay, that was easy. Wow. Um. Are we all finished with questions? And I agree, and I think we're kind of, Liz, we'll keep it in your court on that one. And then any questions from or comments from the public?
No speaker cards received in chambers, but we do have one hand raised in Zoom.
Okay.
Ms. Pisano, you
Ida
have 3 minutes.
Okay, Ida Pisano, resident of San Juan. Just a consideration for the ad hoc committee and city council in selecting a planning commissioner. Had the opportunity to listen to other cities in a recent convention and what some of the cities do with regards to selecting planning commissioners is that all applicants and applications are posted publicly so that when they do make a selection, the public knows why they were selected. And it's a very objective way of doing it. And then the public can also see the qualifications of the applicants. It's something that many cities do, big cities do that. And I maybe I shouldn't say big cities, but it's a practice that I think would be well worth, as far as accountability of the city so that they can see that it is an objective process and not one that is subjective. Because in a small town, probably many people know, certain people, and it's just a good way. Just a consideration for you to think about with the ad hoc committee and then moving forward with possible possible candidate. That's it. Thank you.
Okay,
Is it your ears?
Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted to make a comment that we were the second ad hoc committee to go through the final selection when it came to the selection of our newest member to the planning commission, Ms. Bazzano, myself and council member Sabathia. We met and we went over a plan to make it very objective, and that was to even time limit. The questions were the same. We had a clock running. We asked the same questions of both the candidates. And so we did not have chit chat. We were just pretty much asking questions, keeping time. So we tried to be as objective as we can, being a small town.
I wasn't, there's no intent to, I mean, what?
So we are trying to, I think that's being a small town, I understand what you're saying, that larger cities throw the applications out there for the public, but we don't get a lot of response. And so we try to do the best we can, and I think we did a great job.
Thank you. Anything else? Before we move on, I was just looking across this vast audience we have, and I see a member in the audience that would be a great candidate. I'm just saying that out loud. I've only said this, how many times now? Yeah. Yeah, he would get more than 3 minutes, that's for sure.
For Michael Johnson.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, the ad hoc, did you just approve Mike's application?
Congratulations.
Okay, so what's the pleasure?
I make a motion to appoint Councilmember Sabathia and Jordan to the ad hoc committee. And to accept applications up until March 29th. If we have 0 or 1 applicant, the deadline will be extended to April 15th.
Seconded.
Calling the question, Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you.
Sorry, that was.
Sounds like my stomach. Okay, number 9, discussion item. A, discuss the status of the city's import of drinking water from the San Benito County Water District. Receiver report from City Manager Don Reynolds.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought we were due for a comprehensive review of where we are with our import of drinking water. Because we've talked a lot about the other issues involved. And this is where our attention is focused and resources are focused right now. We went through a tough month. We came across as many as 80 residents who were late paying their water bill. And for the first time in several years, since before COVID, we started using door hangers again and inviting people who are struggling with their water bills to come in and make payment arrangements with us. And we've arranged many payment plans. So we are want to work with the community to bring everyone into compliance. But 10% is a lot of customers. So I think the general attitude in the community has been a little bit frustrated over the cost of water. So I wanted to take a moment in tonight's agenda to remind folks of where we've been and where we're going. Back in 2020, we agreed to an order on consent from the EPA. And that order on consent said you need to fix your water system. And we had a preliminary engineer's report that was studied. It provided by Stantec. They gave us 3 options for our wastewater and 3 options for our water. We have chosen in resolution 2020-51 2 capital improvement projects, which were subject to the approval of the EPA. And the EPA said, yes, this is the best way to respond to this administrative order on consent. And one of them is to send our wastewater to Hollister and close our plant, and the other is to import drinking water and blend it with our well water. A number of benefits to blending our well water with surface water from the San Benito County Water District include more resiliency, better resiliency and better response to drought when you have more than one source of water. I shared with the council earlier this week a memo on the microbial system. Our wells are subject to nitrates and closure. Well 3, well 2 were both closed because of nitrates, and well 6 has not been in operation because of nitrates. So we could drill another well, but we would have the same risk. So I think when the council made that decision to import surface water, they also saw the need to diversify our water system and make it more resilient. That's what I tell legislators when we're asking for support for the system, that we're trying our best to support the groundwater Sustainability Act of, I think it's 2014, and diversify and use less groundwater and instead import the surface water. So we are now focused on agreements with the water board, and there are two specific agreements that have to be executed before the project construction begins, and one is to pay for the pipeline itself. And it's been decided in the past 6 months, I'll say, that the city would own that pipeline, not the district. And I know I've shared this before, but that's real important when it comes time to raise funds for the project. We're more apt to get grant and loan funds from the various federal and state agencies if the city owns the asset and the city's accountable for it. So the water district has agreed to that. Originally, the water district has agreed, they still agree to fund the project, finance the project for the city, but they were offering a 4.5% interest. And we experienced a much better interest rate working with the USDA. I've seen a recent email that said that might increase now from 2.5% for the sewer system to more like 3.25% for a loan on the water system. So the goal is always to try and get as many grants as we can, because when we increase the water rates, we increase with an estimation of debt service. So we're trying now to work hard to get grant money to get the debt down to what the current water rate can afford. That way we wouldn't have to raise water rates again, and we'd be able to have our cake and eat it too. That's the way it turned out with the sewer project. So we're working that really hard right now with the water project. So another change that has occurred is the route. The route of the pipeline is no longer going to be along the foothills, coming down from San Juan Oaks area, down the foothills into well 6 Mission Vineyard Road. Instead, they're going to lay the pipe in the Highway 156, and the timing there is important because we're working with Caltrans, and in fact, we had a conversation with Caltrans today. The district did. About the timing of that, and we need to get the pipe into the highway between August and October of this year. So this is imminent and it's coming now. And so what the district has done to simplify things is that the pipeline design is fairly simple and it's 30% done. So they've asked HDR, their engineers, to follow up quickly on the design of the pipeline, because we need to get that in place starting this August. So these two agreements need to be executed, and the phase 1 of the pipeline project would be implemented in August. And then sometime after the first of the year, 2025 or so, then the second stage of the project would be implemented. And that would be the chlorination and the testing and all the technical details that come with merging the surface water at our well 6. So that's a whole nother technical part, which was another 3.5. So I'm paraphrasing the numbers here, but they are approximately 8.5 million altogether, 3 and 3.3 and 5.2 and 3.3. So moving forward with this, we do have an experimental system that I've already referenced, the microbe system that removes nitrates from the water, and we did invest in a new. We got the water board's approval to implement that system, but it has not been installed yet. We've been discharging the treated water into our waste stream until we got a full design together. And now we have the design together with an estimated cost of $250,000 to install the microbe system, because it needs to be integrated into the system after the water has been filtered for iron and manganese. And I have Doug Pike, our city engineer, on the call here to help me out with some of these technical details for the council if we have any questions. The quantity of water is based on a 60/40 estimate from the 2021 preliminary engineers report. That may be different now. And so we've been reviewing, I've asked our engineering team to review all of the assumptions that were made several years ago to confirm or update the assumptions. And I'm in receipt of a lengthy analysis of 7 different scenarios of water based on the quantity of water being imported and the quality of that water based on drought and other variables that occur in the system. So in that regard, we hope to, we will be making drinking water better, but it's been pointed out to me that it may not be as good as we were hoping. And that's all based on the quality of the surface water we're importing and the amount that we need to reduce hardness. So along with that, is the fact that our violations are based on having too much salt in our water, too much chloride especially, and what is the status of the industrial users? So of the industrial users, they send us about 26,000 gallons per day out of 160,000. So it's a reasonable size proportion. It's not half, but it's reasonable. 80% of that comes from one user, and that's Taylor Farms, formerly Earthbound Farms. And so I have been working with them since 2020, 2021. I don't know how old am I getting? Gosh, yeah, that's a long time. The city has been working with them since 2003. And so we've seen emails that talk about agreements with these industries, and they're all over the place. Some have been executed and recorded on title, and others haven't even been executed. Earthbound does not have a current executed agreement. But in the scheme of things, my first goal in tackling this problem, and I'm going to give a talk at a panel session pretty soon about complex projects. My first goal was to reach a settlement agreement with the board and try and keep us afloat. And then my second objective was to work and focus on the force main and the sewer issue, because the penalties, after all, are still being applied, and we have to get the sewer project built first. And so that's why that's underway first. And then the second project is to import water. And then the third project is to circle back with the private industries and help them get their water into compliance, and also come to them with a dollar amount that says, of our problem, you're 30%. How much can you afford, pay up? And they don't have choice. We have leverage over this. So the land use agreement for Earthbound that was adopted and amended in 2006, 2008, requires them to send their sewer water to San Juan Bautista. And we don't have an agreement with them. So I think we have all the leverage that we need to negotiate that agreement, to not only demand that they intervene our system out at Coke Farms, where the lift station is now, and not send their wastewater to us any longer. That's the ultimate goal. And to that end, we've actually installed a lateral about 2 months ago at the Coke Farms lift station, so that when they're ready to connect, it's there for them, saving them $10,000 of cost. We've got the road open. It doesn't cost us hardly that much to put it in. So we have a pipe there waiting for them to upgrade and turn that pump station around. Until then, we will continue to receive their water because we don't want to disrupt their service. But with an agreement, we can leverage them. We can put a date on it. And so those agreements are coming. They're not being ignored. It's just a matter of bandwidth and staff's ability to negotiate those. So right now, the urgency is to get the water agreements executed so we can be in time to get our water pipe into State Highway 156 before it gets repaired and fixed up by Caltrans and relinquished to the county. And then we'll focus on connecting that water system, and we'll have the two parts of the administrative order on consent resolved, and then we'll be able to focus and circle back with the industrial users. So I have been on site. We have done surveys of their facilities. We have records of those that I've shared with some of the members of the public. We have one for each of the 3 facilities. We understand how they produce their water. It's much better than it was when I got here. No one had been looking at it, as far as I could tell, for the last 10 years or so. So it's much improved. It's not perfect, and it is on our radar. It's just down the road. So I want to let the council know what to expect. These 2 agreements should be coming forward, hopefully by May, no later than May. And a full set of plans and specs to go out to bid for that pipeline also in May or June. So that's our objective, and that's where we are focused on the water project right now. I'm excited about our trip to Sacramento. Some of the council is joining me to meet with Speaker of the House Rivas, and to meet with State Senator Caballero in her office. We also have an appointment with the Water Board. And just an aside, I tried to find the Film Commission, but they're not in Sacramento, they're in Hollywood. So anyway, we're going to be up there lobbying for grant funds. We've had many conversations with Chad from the Washington DC office, from Lofgren's office, and he's identified a program. It's an acronym, Scott, and I don't know what it stands for. It's the WRD program that he thinks that we can get a low interest loan through federal funds. And we've also we sent a whole application package to Senator Butler last week. The due date was the 12th of March. So we're following a similar pattern as we did with the wastewater and try and get the city the best value we can for this project, so. That's why this report comes forward now, and the two letters to both Rivas and Javier are attached for your information. With that, I'm hoping we can have a public discussion. And answer any more questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns?
According to my quick math, the amount of water coming from Earthbound Farms is approximately 18% of our total. So that's a sizable chunk, but it's not half or even a quarter. The other thing I'm concerned about is that we cannot be trapped into a single percentage rate on our blend. We need to have it. We're paying a lot of money to build this pipeline, and we need to get the good quality water. And I understand about allocations, and I understand that in drought years, might not get as much. We cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, we need to get the best water we can, because city residents are tired of having scaled up walls in their showers. They're tired of replacing water heaters every 4 years. They're tired of replacing dishwashers every 4 or 5 years. And if we can get the hardness down to under 200 parts per million calcium carbonate, we can probably obtain that goal. Now, the water coming in from CVP water is about 90 to 110 already. So we're halfway there. Our water is 480, averages around 480 parts per million calcium carbonate. So on an 80-20 blend, according to my simple math, we're already at 200 or 196. So that's right on the ragged edge before. You have to understand, I come from the industrial water treatment business, and if I had more than 3 parts per million of calcium carbonate entering into any pressure vessel, I was having a heart attack, because that was unacceptable. You know, that's just the way our industry is. It's a different mindset. Because you might ask why, and I'll tell you why. Because for each 1/16 of an inch of scale of calcium carbonate is a wonderful scale and insulator. You lose 18% of your heat exchange efficiency, which means your PG&E bill goes up, in simple words. So we want to stop that and control that as much as possible. So I'm still recommending either a 75-25 blend or an 80-20 blend, not a 60-40 blend, because a 60-40 will be at 240 parts per million calcium carbonate, and we'll still be scaling up water heaters as quick as you can. So those are my comments. I'm willing to show Mike, you know, I brought some samples of water with me, you know, and I can show him how it affects things. On this, after the city council meeting, you know, we can all deal with it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. One of my questions was the Microvi plant. Another $250,000 to connect it to our system. A couple of pipes and a couple of check valves. I didn't understand that cost.
And I forgot to refer to Doug, who's ready to speak on that matter. He helped with the review.
Good question.
Thank you.
Do you want that answer right now from Doug?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how we.
Okay, we'll get everybody get theirs. Okay. Yep. Go ahead.
I would like to give Mr. Ponce and anyone else in the audience a chance to speak. We do have a letter here from Mr. Ponce that's also speaks to what Councilmember Freeman was saying. The 60-40 blend is really too low.
You'll be able to speak.
My main questions are it's impossible for me to take the engineer hat off, just can't do it. How did we arrive at the 60-40 blend? what, determinations and calculations were done there. I suspect that it's cost related, and what is the cost difference? Especially, downstream to users to improve.
Right, yes, cost and practicality are the two things that were the focus of the conversation with the engineering team today. And the more water we have to import, the higher the cost will be. I don't have an exact number for you tonight, but it is something we're working on. In fact, I hope that this is a continuing discussion. We'll carry it forward on future agendas, so we have more than one bite at the apple here. The 60/40 was based on the city's criteria and its permit to meet a chloride level of 200. Well, lo and behold, Hollister now has new limits, which are tighter at 150. And so the 80/20 is we're gonna have to look at that blend, because we're gonna have to be trying to meet Hollister's thresholds. But what Hollister agreed to, including the Wallace Group, in their, the MOU was much more strict. And it had these permit levels, exact permit levels in the MOU. But the agreement that we executed, our 40-year agreement with them, is to assure Hollister that our water quality will not impact their ability to meet their permit. And in that, in talking with Tony Akel today, the author of our master plan, he talked about the volume. What is the impact on Hollister? It's like 0.04% or something like that. We are literally a drop in their bucket. So we need to have that conversation before we bring this memo and recommendation forward. So we're just flushing out the draft now, and I think in a couple of weeks we'll have that answer for you, council member.
Okay.
Real quick, if I might add.
Can I ask my questions, and
I'm
then
sorry.
maybe we can go to public comment, and we'll come back with our. Thanks. I had a question. I was concerned about the 60/40 and the 80/20, the price difference. Because it sounds like, so the new parts per million that Hollister is talking to us about, is this something that they created, or was this forced on them by, once again, another appointed committee that we had to deal with earlier?
It's my understanding, Councilmember Freeman and I had this conversation today, that the state water board and the state regional water quality, maybe it was Leslie and I, makes an assessment of our aquifer and the quality of our aquifer, and then comes to determination on what the different limits are for the sodium, all the different chemical limits. So, but what I heard today was the water board is not considering all the data, and that nut could be cracked and reopened and relooked at. Who's making the requirement? It's their permit from the regional water quality control board. So it's the state office.
That's the same folks that
So those are the ones that find us.
find us. Okay, yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
surprised. by
so
that.
when they rate permits, they rate discharge limits, but our background water exceeds those discharge limits. And we can't treat to that on a wastewater plant, having higher income than.
Yeah, okay. So we're currently being fined something like $3,000 a month.
Yes, for exceeding the fluoride limits, and occasionally another 3,000 for sodium.
Wow. And I understand the concept about banking groundwater for us. The more we can bank, the more we have, just in case of emergencies or drought, pipeline failures, or even them shutting us down for some reason. And that's huge. And then at that point in time, I mean, if it's an emergency at that point in time, we've got to use what we've got to use. Okay, it's probably a question for people in Sacramento about this. Our wastewater, or this water group. Okay, let's go public comment.
Did you want to let Doug have a chance? Maybe he can answer some questions.
Can I ask one more question of Doug too, though?
Yeah, let's get one of Doug, and then we'll get Doug to chime in, but he may be answering. Okay, yeah, he may answer some questions for me.
So this goes back to the $250,000 microvi question. The next line says the city may be asking the water board if well 6 will be necessary after the district water is connected. I am never one to give up a water supply ever. In case at some point, for whatever reason, we need it because the district closes off their valve or whatever. We have our wells, and I think we should maintain them as active wells
Totally agree with that.
forever and always.
Okay, yeah, a town that's a main street that's Commonwealth construction in August with 30-mile-an-hour winds, you bet. Okay, Doug, did you remember all the questions that were thrown out there?
I do. I'm impressed of the good grasp and handle that all of you have on the issues, because everything I've heard is consistent with what we're discovering, taking another look at this, a number of years after decisions were made. And we discussed in our technical meeting today what was just expressed, that you want to keep your 3 wells because it's not a guaranteed supply all the time to the pipeline. And even the 3 wells would be subject to going down for maintenance or repair. And they may keep up with the current maximum average daily demand, but might be a little stressed at the peak maximum daily demand. And as we go into, our full growth per the general plan, it's not sufficient, those 3 wells. So, the future of the city probably is an additional well at some point when it makes sense. We've got a draft report on water quality and what the blending means for that. And we understand the limits and the challenges of that. The whole blending scenario is not a panacea. There's very few instances where we can achieve these new tighter maximum concentration levels. And so one of the key scenarios that we've talked about, Don mentioned, and that is that we've got to go back to the regulators, lay this all out and have a hard discussion with them, because there apparently can be some flexibility in those MCLs regionally. So we'll get that figured out. The water coming through the pipeline, for example, is at 140 milligrams per liter of chlorides, with 150 being the limit. And then ours are much, much higher. And so, how little do you have to add of ours to not exceed that 150 MCL? So these are all things that need to be discussed. However, we, at this point, believe that we need to vigorously look at the value of the blending and the value of this pipeline, because a supplemental water source is going to be essential for the future of the city. And I'm not talking about making this a big growth city. I'm just talking about achieving the maximum current growth allowed per the current general plan. There's going to be one thing we are looking at too, is whether or not these modifications need to happen now, or if they can be deferred. We think they can be deferred if that's the wise thing to do and necessary thing to do. But ultimately, this is a good option for reliability for future water for the city. So there are some hard questions to be asked. The report has done a good job of fleshing out some of these things, and we went through some recommendations how to improve the report for readability and understandability. And when we finalize our little water quality report, and we have one of the best water planners, water supply engineers, probably in the state, that's been doing this for us, we'll have, you'll be very satisfied to see that what you're discussing is what we discussed, almost to the point, which is, to me, speaks, to your interest in being in tune with this thing. Anyway, Don, did I miss any key points you wanted me to talk about?
Doug, were you involved in the cost estimates for the microbe installation? It does just seem like plumbing to me, but I'm a political science major.
No, but I am familiar with I did look at the plans and specs that are being prepared and commented on them to Wallace Group. And, you know, the accurate description of what this project is a modification of a temporary piece of significant equipment to allow it to, instead of discharge to the sewer, to discharge in a totally different way. What essentially will be discharged is water that will be reused. And then there will be nitrates that will just be discharged in the air. And so we won't be putting anything into the sewer unless it's cleaner water. So it's a matter of not only piping, plumbing and valves, but also of SCADA systems and an integrated system. And then the other thing is we have to do all this in an environment where we have to keep operating it and keeping the beneficial bugs alive. That would be catastrophic and expensive to have to restart that facility. And that's all factored in there. And then, you know, I always hate to bring this up, but it's a reality, and that is that this is being done by a city that has to pay prevailing wage. And the cost is about 25% to 30% more than makes sense. And it's just because of the prevailing wage requirements. So, you know, this really is kind of a $170,000 job that we're paying $250,000 for because we're subject to prevailing wage requirements.
Okay, thank you. If you could stand by, we probably have some more questions. Let's go to public comment. You're up. Great. What's that? You're not getting a half an hour. You're not getting half. How about if we get 10? Go.
Okay. So you guys have touched on a few of the comments that I wanted to make, especially the blend. I know it's a very complicated formula. It's going to be complicated to get the right water that we need. I've been studying it for over 2 years, this project. And sometimes it just gets overwhelming. I don't know how you guys do it and everything else. I'm just working on 2 projects here. And I went and bought myself an iPad just to try to organize myself. I learning how to work the darn thing, but anyway, the water and sewer, it's really one project. It's a four-part project agreed to with the city and the EPA. So I'm going to go a little bit into the wastewater. I got a letter sent to me from city manager talking about the 3 industrial users, and it's I hope you guys get a chance to read it. It's very eye-opening what those 3 users are putting into our system. I keep hearing that the reason why we're doing this is because we got to get rid of the water softeners. I don't think the water softeners are the sole problem. I don't even think they're 50% of the problem. Some of these numbers that have been coming out of the Coke lift system, sodium 800 to 130 milligrams per liter. Our permit says 250. Chloride 1,000 to 2,300 milligrams per liter. Our permit says 200. Total dissolved solids 3,000 to 4,900. Our permit allows 1,400. If we to shut them off, we probably don't need this project. I know that the water softeners contributed to it, but are they so bad that we have to do this project? It seems like when we did the water rate increase, the whole gist of it was because of the water softeners, but nobody talked about these industrial users. We don't even have any we have one agreement, I believe, with one of them, the lowest amount of effluent that he puts in, but the other two, it's mind boggling. I don't know why we don't have an agreement. This letter was written in 2021, August of 2021. That's four and a half years ago, and we still don't have an agreement. Why don't we have an agreement? I looked up another thing that I would hope that the council would look into is ordinance number 559. Deals with the industrial users. 59410 talks about materials prohibited in sewer that create a public nuisance. I live on First Street, right where the manhole comes up where the Coke lift station is. And sometimes that smell is unbelievable. And I see somebody checking that hole literally 10 times a week. So something's going on there. That's a public nuisance, I would say, the smell. 59425 says the city can require a pre-treatment agreement to reduce and eliminate objectionable water characteristics. Well, these numbers I would think are objectionable. 59440, you can limit the amount of wastewater strength. 59440 D2, the city can put more stringent limitations so that we do not violate our NPDES permit. Also, it says there's also a 59815 for the permit transfer. So what is it? Earthbound. It's been Earthbound Natural Selections, and now it's Taylor Farms. So I believe ownership has transferred. 59815 says no permit transfer unless approved by the city. Have we approved their permit and all these transfers of ownership? So I think there's the industrial users. Okay, the past is past. What's happened has happened. Well, let's move forward. We need to get agreement with them. They need to work with us. In a sense, we help build their business. We've all seen what's going on out there at Taylor Farms. It was a little plant and they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's a great operation out there. I'm not against business. I'm pro-business. Business provides jobs. It's really sad that they're not part of San Juan because we would get a heck of a tax base from them. But they are putting a strain on our system. They're making us spend $40 million. They're part of the problem. They're not entirely, but they're part of the problem, but they're a huge part of the problem. These numbers, why isn't anybody doing anything about it? How did they get past not having permits or getting past a permit? One permit is lost. Nobody can even find it. Doesn't the EPA or somebody have standards for them? They can just throw anything in the sewer and send it to us, and then we have to deal with it. And now Hollister wants to deal. Hollister are going to take our sewer if it doesn't pass their standards. And what are we going to do with it? We're stuck with it, or we cut them off. I think it kind of sounded like City Manager Don Reynolds said that we have that option. Do we want to do that option? No, we want to work with them. but they gotta work with us. You know, again, I say, by them not having to adhere to these standards that we have to adhere to, we help grow their business. We help them be successful. Now we're asking, let's work together. Let's get this thing done. Let's correct it. There's probably gonna be some cost to them. And I think it's fair. It only seems fair. They pay their fair share, you know, it's a problem. That's my talk on the 3 industrial users. The other concern I have is the chromium 6. I know that there are new standards that are coming out. I don't believe they have come out yet. Immediate release from the California Water Board. They're looking at 10 milligrams per liter, microgram, thank you, MCL. Again, doing research on that. I believe that's way too high for what chromium 6 is all about, but you'll have to do the study on that. I don't have time for that to, with your time limits, you're putting on me looking at the clock. But does West Hills Water Treatment Plant have the capability of meeting that standard? Because that water is going to come to us. That was one of the other questions that I had on that. And then my last question, 8.9 million estimated cost for the pipeline. Does that include a true up fee, or is that only for the wastewater? And you know, I appreciate you giving me this extra time. I know it's hard to say everything I want to say in 3 minutes. I would really hope that maybe before we finalize this agreement, maybe I'd suggest maybe another town hall meeting or some type of meeting where the public can ask questions and receive answers and discuss. But without a 3-minute time limit, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions, comments from the public?
Raised.
Doug, did you hear all the concerns from Mr. Ponce?
I did. I admire Mike. I've heard him speak at other meetings, and very sincere and very knowledgeable gentleman. And I comment on a couple of things. First off, the way that industrial wastewater is handled, it's the obligation of the agency which receives or processes or handles the waste to see that the guidelines are followed. If, for example, Taylor Farms was not taking their effluent to the city, but somewhere else, then that somewhere else would have the responsibility. If it was, disposed of on site, then it'd be the county. But because it comes to the city's wastewater treatment plant, then the city has an obligation to, enforce pre-treatment when it's appropriate. And that was part of our discussion in our technical meeting today, where it is appropriate and it needs to be done. One thing I'll just mention, and I think you may all be aware of this, but sodiums and chlorides are very expensive to mitigate. Usually you have to use a reverse osmosis system, and then you have this slurry left over of salts, this salt slurry, and it can be heated and evaporated on site. That's incredibly expensive for energy costs. Usually it's tankered and hauled. And where does it go to? It often has to go to a regional wastewater treatment plant on the coast that has a 5-mile long effluent pipeline out in the ocean, and it's sent out into the briny deep, so to speak. But these individual producers that, where they have wash water and they have high concentrations, regardless of cost, it's their obligation to pre-treat as mandated by city ordinance, by state law. And it's part of our due diligence to make sure that happens. So that's very appropriate thing to do. And Mike was correct. When you have a high concentration of salts that are coming from one user, it takes an awful lot of our regular effluent to make that begin to feel like, act like our non-industrial wastewater. And so it can be a significant impact. So that's something that we're looking at again. I say again, because really we're taking a fresh set of eyes on this whole issue right now. And we're coming up with this report with some recommendations that we're going to put out there and state what the challenges are and what the considerations ought to be in moving forward.
I have a couple comments if I could.
Okay.
In January, we had a meeting here in this room at this table with Vice President Jared Stoffel from Taylor Farms. Dale Koch was here as well, talking about the Koch lift station and the future of water. So we have been in conversation with Taylor on a regular basis each of the years since before 2021. And the important part, that letter was to make them aware of their issues, and they have improved their act. At that time, we had agreed to accept some of their wastewater because they needed to improve their ponds, the Anthony Battel's property out on Highway 25, and that ended. And so the numbers are very inflated in that letter, and they're not what we're receiving today. So I think we have access to those numbers, and we're happy to share those with the public. And it is public information. It's on the website. So right now, we are not receiving water at that level from Taylor anymore. And so that was the purpose of that letter. And my intention in sharing that letter was to show the actions that we are taking. So we're not ignoring it. It's just a matter of priority. If we stop putting water into the creek, then we no longer need an NPDES permit. Therefore, we will no longer violate it. So that's been my rush. That's been my priority. And so if you want to stop negotiating for water with the district and start looking at the industrial use, I don't think that's smart, but we have a lot of momentum right now with the district. So it's just a matter of bandwidth.
You answered my question on the update on the water. Questions?
As I remember, this was during a previous city council that I was on, and when Don just got hired, we talked about Taylor Farms and Church Brothers a lot. We really did. And I even drew up an ordinance that I stole from the city of Fremont, because I'm not imagining enough to do it myself, and gave it to Don and said, why don't we use this? And then Don went in our code and found one that Larry Kane had drawn up, and it wasn't quite as good as the Fremont one, but it would have sufficed. And then, long story short, as Don just said, the Taylor Farms did clean up their act, and the water isn't as bad. And so, but we're still being fined or under the threat of being fined. So we still have to do something. I personally, and I've talked this over with the city manager many times, we're doing it backwards. Okay. We need to bring the water in from West Hills first and the sewer second, because if we do a 75-25 blend or an 80-20 blend, the water going out the pipe might meet the specs already, even without the new sewer line. So that was my contention all along from 2016. When I first started talking about this, and I've run the numbers, and it's still, I would contend it still will meet most of the specs. To my knowledge, there's no EPA level MCLs for chlorides, because it's not a contaminant that causes any harm to mammals or fish or anything like that. It's not a pollutant per se, or a something that is bad. It's just kind of in the water. It doesn't even come from the sodium of our water softeners. It's just there already. Which is why the state water board, to Leslie's excellent point, needs to do it correctly and make it so the chlorides coming in is the same as the water going out, and the permit reflects that. You know, and that needs to occur. But to make a long story short, I still think we need to do the water project from the West Hills. You got to look at the source. Okay, I'm not worried about chromium, because where does the West Hills water treatment plant water come from? It comes from San Luis Reservoir. Now the San Luis Reservoir is a reservoir that has no, and I repeat, no incoming streams. Okay, there's no river, stream, or creek that feeds San Luis Reservoir. Every drop of water is pumped up from the canal to the reservoir. So that water is what's called CVP water, Central Valley Project water. And where does it come from? It comes from melted snow in the Sierras. There's not much chromium in that water, or I'll say zero, none. So that's why I am particularly not worried about it. There can be chromium in groundwater. That's common. So I think we are on the right path. We still need to do a 75 to 25 or an 80 to 20 blend. I know that Steve out at the water treatment plant, or not water, the county water board, would like to sell us 100% because he'd make more money. But you know, even our groundwater costs a lot of money. When you do manganese treatment and iron treatment, and then you do a microbial on top of it, that water's becoming pretty expensive. So the cost might not be as much as you think. Differential might as much as you think. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Mr. Ponce and Mike, for all of that. But anyway, I just had a couple of questions. I just kind of took some notes. And when I heard, I think Mr. Reynolds, Don Reynolds said, or someone said we're paying out fines of around 3,000 a month. So I understand that we have to go back and do some agreements with the bigger offender of the three industrial users is Taylor Farms, formerly Earthbound. How can we get them to pay for some of that monthly fine? I mean, I know that you said you don't have enough bandwidth and you have priorities. How can we help you with the bandwidth? Can we, that gentleman, Mr. Pike, I'm assuming that he has a specific contract that he's providing consultation and maybe a report, but how can we get you the day-to-day operational bandwidth so that you can not wait and put them down as the third priority is what I heard you say, so that we can collect some money and get an agreement with them?
That's a great question, council member. And what I've done since January is boost up M&S's support. So Doug is here by himself today, but he's backed up by Nick and Beth, who are the real experts who drafted this memorandum and led this conversation this afternoon. So we have a much stronger team than we had, say at Christmas before the holidays, because I'm slowly turning the Titanic in that direction so we can tackle this issue. As I agree with what's said tonight, it is a high priority.
EJ?
My questions and concerns are satisfied. It seems like the appropriate attentions and priorities are being placed on things.
Turning the Titanic, that's a good. Except the Titanic didn't keep hitting icebergs. They only hit once, you know, and it seems like
We keep it.
it seems like there's a group of people that keep putting icebergs in front of us. I'm glad you answered the question on our partners out there, and the water isn't as bad. But I'm hoping to look up that. I have to say right now in this time that this town's in right now with the what we're dealing with, and water is the number one issue. We're pretty lucky to have, a couple water people on this council. Because, you both say things that make sense to me, but I mean, they make sense, but they don't make so much sense because I'm not, but I can deliver a lot of water. I can tell you how to deliver a lot of water, but the breakdown of the, all the math, it's frustrating. And I agree with you. We need to lean on these folks out here. I mean, they're getting something for nothing, it seems like. Yeah, and regardless if they're making $1.235, and they're still, as Mr. Pike said, we're liable, we're responsible to make sure that they don't dump as much junk into the water as possible. I've got such a headache right now. Yeah, I just drank some water. Some damn good water. So, any more questions, concerns? Okay.
At one point, did we not talk about discussions on whether or not, and Doug, this might be for you as well. Having the 3 entities go directly to before passing us, and the cost associated, I mean, do we benefit from them coming through us, going through the pipeline to Hollister?
So in regards to the smell and so forth, that was the purpose of the January meeting, and I got consensus from Mr. Stoffler at Taylor Farms to connect at the lift station, so they wouldn't, their waste stream would no longer enter the city.
Right, and we're getting rid of the wastewater plant anyway, but is it San Juan having 4 connections, or on one pipeline, or to Hollister, or does Hollister have 4 different connections?
There'll be just one pipe.
Right,
Okay.
but then I don't know how to say this.
Coke and
As 4 toilets as opposed to 1,
So,
right? I mean, you're
well,
talking about,
like, okay, so that's a good one.
Yeah.
So we have a lateral and we have 4 houses on it. And as opposed to putting all of those houses on, that's not even right either. Yeah, thank
There you
you.
go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Well, that would cause Hollister to be responsible, and Hollister didn't want that. When we negotiated the agreement, Hollister made sure that we get that responsibility.
okay.
So hopefully we're charging them to use our line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They pay a volumetric rate.
Do we have a meter in front of it or
Yeah.
behind it? Okay.
Yes, we do.
Okay, great.
And we've been checking those. We didn't before.
Okay.
I know True Leaf has gone months without a meter and stuff. So, we bill them every month.
Any more questions? Concerns? Okay. Can you get with John after the meeting? Since I think what struck you, no, you're gonna get with John. You had 10 minutes, Mike. Come on. Yeah, well, let's follow the procedure. That's what I think at this point. Okay. I think. Yeah. Oh, future agendas, sorry. Any,
We have a couple lagging from the last meeting that we need to catch up on.
okay. And those are,
The vacancy tax, and downtown and,
Are we waiting for City Gate for that?
no, she's already sent me some samples. I was hoping for some in-state samples, and I got one from back east, so I'll work on that.
Okay.
okay, was there another one on that? Just so I can hear what's coming up next. Done. Yeah.
I'd have to double check my notes, but I
Okay.
think there's still a couple of them.
Does anybody want anything on the next agenda?
Can I throw a discussion item? Lang Street Park.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully we can talk to our friends over in Hollister. What is it? What are they called? Pace or the park group? Reach, yeah. That gives a whole bunch of. Yeah, they're giving a lot of money to Hollister, but we haven't seen any of them. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Oh, can I just add one quick comment that I forgot? The construction will start in Rancho Vista on the pipeline, so on Catano Street, parallel to First Street. It could start as soon as the end of this week. So I just wanted the council and the community to know that. We're gonna put out door hangers in advance.
Is it gonna go across the creek and then, or under the creek?
It's going under the creek,
Oh, boy. Okay,
but we have to get the pipe. We have an 18-inch pipe that the prior city engineer installed out there, and so we're putting a sleeve inside that, and then our pipe inside of that. So we'll have to do some construction around the manholes in Catano. So it'll be noisy and dusty, and so just, we're gonna go out and notice the neighbors tomorrow, I hope, and make the letter of that.
we thought the same thing when your subdivision was being built. It was noisy and dusty. To have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Taking this.
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jordan,
Yes.
Councilmember Morris Lopez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sabathia,
Yes.
Mayor Frios.
Yes, thank you all. Great meeting. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Explain your application for the 20 minutes. Yes. Oh, that's exciting.